My friends, the great experiment.
Down on the lower decks.
Hidden trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica.
We are... we after a day yesterday we recorded 4 podcast episodes, just back to back.
Yeah.
Watched a Britney Spears feature film in there, in the middle of that.
I mean, that's hardly work.
Yeah, so long day yesterday, couple more episodes today, but this is the last thing we're recording this week after a huge week. Absolutely massive week of work for us.
Yeah. I feel a little show drunk right now. Just whipped. I don't feel bad. I just feel spent. Like we can see the finish line ahead. Now, like I'm feeling like the endorphins that runners talk about. Like if I can just kick a little harder for a little longer, I think we can make it.
I am reading The Boys in the Boat right now.
Yeah,
it's a true story about a Seattle rowing team that went all the way in the Olympics that they had in Nazi Germany.
That UW rowing team is legendary.
Yeah.
The Montlake Cut, one of the most beautiful places you could ever be. A movie they decided to shoot far, far away from Seattle.
So stupid.
Yeah.
But I did a bit of rowing in high school, and I have actually rowed on Lake Washington. I've been in that water competing.
Special. I wish I had the chance to know that, Benjamin R. Harrison. You were a travel rower.
Yeah.
Dude, you were there when I was in college.
I know. We may have walked past each other on the street or something, for all I know. But yeah, it's one of the things that is so great about the book is the description of like the physical things you're going through while you're in a race, because like you're burning calories at such a high rate. Like there's some like crazy thing, like you have to be able to like inhale and process like twice as much oxygen as the average person to be like an Olympic level rower. And I like obviously wasn't that, but like we're talking about something that like people like pass out doing it. Mm-hmm. It's so strenuous. And
I mean, if only you could train your body by doing a repetitive task with your arms and hands for hours and hours. Like, I just don't know how you would train for something like that.
Impossible to say. I don't remember what we were doing, but like that last leg of the race where you know that like the race is like 3/4 over or something, and you've already given everything you've got, and then you need to maintain your like little sliver of a lead by just giving even more.
Yeah.
It's so real, and I've been it's weird that I happened to pick up this book like right after buying myself a rowing machine and like getting back into that lifestyle. I've been doing 2 or 3 big rows every week, and that I'm just competing with myself. But like, I feel like we're in the last 500 meters of this race, man. We got this.
I'm glad you're doing the rowing thing. I would say be careful. Only because I believe I injured myself during a bike workout a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still dealing with this.
Yeah. And
I think I've pinpointed the exact moment when it happened.
Wow.
Because I've gone back into the log, like into my mental exercise log.
Oh, I was thinking you had something on the screen where it showed you like a waveform or something.
There was a spike last night. Were you at Haunted House?
No, I jacked off.
For 15 minutes?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to screen grab and call it up, because what I'm going to tell you is I started writing a couple weeks ago again, like the sort of writing that's not fucking around anymore, like taking it a little seriously, doing it a little more often.
Yeah.
And in the middle of my second ride in 2 days, I was riding with the Peloton instructor who's known for like doing a lot of like rap soundtracks, like a lot of playlists with rap songs. And those are great for riding.
Yeah.
And about 3/4 of the way through, a musical sting plays that I know you'll recognize, Ben. The first few bars of Fetty Wap's Trap Queen. And I fucking tear off. I ride so fucking hard when that song plays.
Yeah.
And my output spiked, and I really went for it, and it felt great to do. I didn't feel the twang at the time. Like, I didn't feel injured in the moment, but the next day I was like, ugh.
It's like one of those scenes in the movie where they get through the firefight and they're like in the chopper on their way out, like, fuck, we made it. And then like one of them like reaches under his jacket and pulls out the hand, and there's a little blood on the tips of his fingers.
There was blood in my tank top that I realized, and I've been dealing with this bulky back for almost 2 weeks now. So
that sucks, man.
I'm super duper happy that you're embracing the rowing again.
Yeah.
But as a 45-year-old man,
Tin Man.
I also have to warn you that, man,
you pick a low impact workout thing and you can still fuck yourself up.
You really can. The risks are all around us at this age. So be careful.
Well,
I say this to a Benjamin R. Harrison that is subject to all sorts of illness and malady. What's wrong with Ben this time? I know you know. I don't need to tell you this.
all sorts of problems beset a favorite Klingon character of ours in today's episode of Lower Decks. Do you want to get into it, Adam?
I really do.
It's season 5, episode 4, A Farewell to Farms.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
Great Captain Ma! Captain Ma! Captain Ma!
Do you think if they did make a sequel to this, it would be To Farewell to Farms?
It's good. It's really good.
One hopes, you know.
Cold open on the Qo'noS Targ farm. And these guys are familiar, aren't they? This is Captain Mach and his brother Malor. And Malor is dunking on Mach pretty hard here in a way that only a brother can. Yeah. He sounds to me, and I didn't stick around for the credits because we've just been like jamming these episodes into our eyeballs. This sounds like an Adam Pally Klingon to me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't stick around for the credits either.
To Adam to Pally. That's who this guy sounded like. Really fun with the dunks.
You seem to be at home on the ground.
One day I will return to battle, which is more than I can say for you.
The last time we saw Mach, he was a captain fighting off a mutiny.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of disappeared.
Where did he go?
And so it was surprising to see him humbled in this way. Like, he's gone from starship to mucking the Targ pit.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, did you hear that part where I said, where did he go? Did you hear that part when I said that?
I'm glad you repeated it because I didn't hear it the first time.
Yeah, so this is not what a warrior imagines for himself in his career, especially a guy like Mach, who was like a lower decker when we met him and made it all the way up to the big chair. And now he's fucking wrestling targs.
It feels like a very water boy sensibility, right? Like, if you can't play on the football team, you're going to be involved with, you know, squirting the Gatorade in the mouths or whatever. And when you're a Klingon warrior, maybe you can't be a part of the war making, but what you can do is supply the blood wine. And that's what this farm produces.
It produces blood wine and it produces gach. We cut away as Mach does not answer a call from Starfleet, and we get a credit sequence that is over idyllic scenes of cultivating wormies and pressing blood wine and stuff.
How beautiful can a cartoon be? This is how beautiful. This opening sequence I thought was great.
It's really nice. It did a great job of making it look like totally beautiful and idyllic, but also like horrific. You know?
Yeah, like
such a funny combination of like
gory Terrence Malick. And I love that Lower Decks does this. It feels like we get a very special episode every season that goes away from its standard theme and gives us something special here in the package. It's nice.
When we come back, they're like loading blood wine into a delivery vessel. Mariner calls up on a screen that's right there in the truck, and a knife flies right into that screen. Mach doesn't want any guff from any Starfleets.
He does Mach.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Malor.
Yeah.
I don't have a third the room thing for this moment.
No, it's better not to remember other parts of that movie.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
We're doing the errands with the brothers. They are taking the van, the delivery van as it is, to make their deliveries. And one of their stops is the Warrior Pit, which is a famous bar, a chain of bars, it turns out. And the bones that Malor has used to decorate their delivery vehicle causes them to get into a little bit of an accident.
Yeah. They crash nearby. Doesn't seem to mess up any of the cargo. So they go ahead and load on in, and they're dropping off the barrels. This is long overdue, it seems like. The bartender hasn't had much product to sling. But as they're conducting business, a Klingon female comes up to Ma'ach. This is Kalara. And she is kind of down bad for him. This is Klingon flirting of a kind we haven't seen in a long time.
I remember you always screaming about honor. It was hot.
Mach also screamed this morning when he was headbutted by a small tar.
I haven't been this excited by a Klingon character since Kalar. Like, she's got Kalar vibes all the way down, I think. She's flirty and aggressive.
Yeah.
And she's useful because in this scene, we get an update on Mach's life. He's not a captain anymore because of his mutinying crew, and he lost his command for that reason. And he's been kind of slumming it ever since. And just an absolutely terrible moment for Mariner and Boimler to walk through those swinging doors.
It really seems like it dumps a bucket of blood wine on the fire that was lit in Kalara's loins when she saw Ma'ach.
Yeah.
When she sees that he's down with the Starfleet clowns, she's like, fuck that. I'm out of here.
Wow, was that your girlfriend? Ooh, what crawled up her boob window and died? Anyway, what are we drinking? Huh, classic Mach.
Let's talk about Boimler's facial hair. Give it the Atom scale update. This is looking like about 2 weeks for me.
Okay.
That's what's going on here on Boimler's face.
Can you get that thin mustache if you give it 2 weeks?
I can get there in 2 weeks.
Wow.
The problem is my wife isn't gone from home on business trips for longer than that. So by the time she returns, it's got to be gone. So
wow.
I can experiment while she's gone with things like the face record.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's as far as it goes.
I think my wife prefers me to be clean shaven from a sensory standpoint, but from a visual standpoint, I look like such a weenie when I don't have any facial hair that she's like, no, go ahead and grow it. I'll put up with it.
Wow. She wants to unweenie you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got unweenie ennui. Don't you?
Either I do or she does.
See, this is a great show. We're doing great.
We're not saving anything for the swim back.
We're going to drown before the finish line.
Yeah. So yeah, his romantic opportunity has been blown. And with that, we cut to the Cerritos for the first time in the episode. And we find out that the B story is going to be a Migleemo B story. He is very excited because some of his fellow Cloacans are going to be boarding the ship for an Uber mission. They are important scholars named Sir Legnog and Madame Gonald. They are very important in Cloacan society because they are food critics.
Their work goes beyond umami.
We learn that Migleemo's food obsessions are not his alone. They run species-wide. They developed warp technology so that they could get dope eats.
I got excited here, Ben, because, you know, I'm a big fan of Bird Planet episode.
Yeah.
I thought we'd see more fucked up bird shit. Starting now.
Yeah.
Cut back over to Qo'noS and the Warrior Pit, and Mariner explains that she's there because Starfleet is returning an ancient warrior skull to the Klingons, and she was just in the neighborhood. So now that she's done with that, maybe she can help him get his captaincy back because she feels like she kind of owes him one for all that great fighting that Mock did on her behalf in that whole Nick Locarno situation from last season.
Indeed. It seems like Boimler is just along for the ride. He's not actually really participating in the mission that much, but he is so fucking excited to be doing Klingon-y shit and getting beat up and experiencing all of the authentic shit about the Klingon lifestyle.
He's rarely been as childlike as this season. It's very bring your Boimler to work day as a vibe between Mariner and Boimler, I think.
Yeah. So Ma'ach is like pretty resistant to Mariner trying to help him get back into the big chair initially. I think partly just because it's like humiliating to have to do that with the help of a human, but she kind of uses his incuriosity and ignorance of human culture against him. She claims that there's some human thing where they'll get fed to bears if they don't pay back the favor. So he consents to allowing them to take him on an adventure to try and return to the command of a starship.
The ritual in question is called the Ritual of Jathurd, which also seems like a proposition between a Vulcan couple that one of them makes. Maybe we should, in order to spice things up, we should invite a Jathurd into bed with us.
Yeah, Klingons and Vulcans have this one.
Yeah. If he agrees to do this, Mariner promises to leave him alone.
Yeah.
So this seems like a pretty fair deal, right?
Yeah, and Boimler, being a nerd of Klingon shit, comes through with this knowledge.
Would you look at that?
We cut back to the Cerritos, where we learn that these critics are, in fact, giant fucking assholes. They are dicks about Starfleet vessels. They, make fun of them for not vacuuming the carpets, which really felt like a slam on TNG in particular.
I think this is instructive for a certain type of person. Just because you don't like a thing doesn't mean you have to say that you don't like a thing.
True.
I mean this when you're reviewing a restaurant. I mean this when you're in company experiencing a thing collectively. I mean this when you're reviewing a podcast. I mean, if a thing isn't for you, it just doesn't have to be for you, because not everything has to be for everyone.
Right. It almost assumes that like your taste is universal to be like, this was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they're these sort of awful complainers who believe that's the case. And poor Captain Freeman is there to greet. I have no idea why she's there to do that, except, as kind of a bump for Migleemo, as a favor to him. But quickly, she pushes Migleemo out in front of this freight train of obligation and gets the fuck out of there.
Back on Qo'noS, we visit the Klingon Oversight Council. Another familiar face, that general that Mariner's friends with, is on the council. But the head of the council is the dude whose brother Mach killed. So he is disinclined to help.
This is just the last person you want running the council is Barg, right? Woof.
Yeah. I love the character design, though.
Yeah.
It felt like a very lived-in older Klingon dickhead.
I also love the frequency with which Mariner just happens to know people on Qo'noS. It's great.
They're doing a lot of invoking of ancient Klingon shit based on Boimler's nerdery, and there's a test that they can do in order to get him reinstated to his command. But they need a fourth in their party. It can't just be him and Boims and Mariner.
Which is confusing, because I thought we were talking about inviting a Jathurd into the thing. I mean, inviting a fourth, that's real black belt stuff.
That is more along the lines of swinging.
I heard a rumor that there is a house in our neighborhood of swingers.
You have to look for the upside down to pineapple on the Cador.
Lot of fun elements to this ritual. Tests of endurance, strength, and sacrifice. we got our 4 people because Melora is compelled to join them. And right at the moment we're about to begin with this adventure, we're back on the Cerritos, where we are experiencing the classic Star Trek bends of going between these A and B stories. I know this show knows what it's doing. Like, this is just the trope of Star Trek, ping-ponging between like the most dangerous, life-threatening moment and what you could call in any Star Trek series the Migleemo B story.
This is a scene in which Migleemo is doing his best to impress these critics by treating them to the finest food available on the Cerritos. A couple of nice mid-rear steaks and mac and cheese with breadcrumb topping. And a smear of what looks like the molten cherry dessert of a TV dinner. Like if you pop that thing out of its square and kind of crunch it up and whoop, smear it. Yeah. That's what it looked like to me. I mean, this food did look good. Like, I think that it's hard for like cell shaded, this style of artwork food to look actively delicious. Yeah. But it did, which is why it's so galling when they take out their little miniature beak utensils and take little teeny tiny pieces of food and gently touch that food to the tips of their tongues and declare that it's flavorless. Migleemo gets yelled at and flapped at. Yeah. Which is a terrible insult in the Cloacan community. Yeah, and like it's also forbidden behavior on board Captain Freeman's ship. She's like, you're not going to like strike my officers just because you disagree with them. Yeah. And these critics who have brought their own security rage off in a huff, and Migleemo is like just crestfallen. These are people he really wanted to impress, and is really blown up in his face. The suggestion is made, why don't we, instead of replicating them the best food, make them the best food? Like, Migleemo has been at great pains to clarify that he is not a chef to these people. Yeah. But it seems like my boy can cook. I mean, you hope so. He's going to have to get on the right side of this thing. Yeah. Speaking of the right side, the right of unending pain is starting. It's true. It's true. And a very familiar scene, Ben, when we've got a Klingon bar mitzvah set up in progress. Malor doesn't want to do this for his brother until he is given cash.
I don't care about my brother.
Okay, then how about for 1,000 Darsecs?
Cash on the blood wine barrel for Mariner. And so he's in at that point. I loved the way they animated the characters getting zapped. The Boimler one especially, I thought was great. Those animation gags are so fun to me. Yeah. Really nice stuff. And the way this is a little bit different from the Rite of Ascension in that the pain sticks get worse as you go on. There's 3 levels, and the level of pain doubles with each level. They're getting toward the red level when they realize that the maximum voltage on these pain sticks is actually a lethal dose. And so they're stressing out, but Boimler comes up with the idea that if they all go together like a bunch of kids trying to sneak into an R-rated movie under a trench coat, the voltage will, I guess, like evenly disperse through their bodies and become not lethal. Ben, is this the truth? I am not a science and physics consultant on Star Trek, so I couldn't tell you. I am famously bad with electricity, and many years ago I went to a wedding that was on a farm that had an electric fence to keep the cattle in. Whoa. And it was like you just touched the wire and it was like it wasn't like it wasn't Timmy getting rocketed 30 feet back at Jurassic Park. The trouble is, me and my friends are idiots. And so we were like, what happens when we hold hands and one of us touches the wire? What happens if 3 of us hold hands? Yeah. What happens if 6 of us hold hands? The answer, Ben, is the power gets transmitted to the last person in that chain in a fairly destructive way. Whoa. A way that was interrupted by a couple of passersby telling us dipshits to not do anything that would kill ourselves, because I guess we were making a chain of people sufficient enough to like really fuck one of us up at the end of the chain.
Whoa, fuck.
So officially, the Greatest Generation / Greatest Trek stance on electric fences is do not touch them, do not play with them, stay away.
Yeah, but also don't take electric fence advice from Star Trek podcasters. You know, you do you.
Just don't listen to us at all, I think, is probably the move. Just imagine me dying in a stupid electric fence accident.
Man, that would have sucked for me.
This whole thing never would have happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, this bundle of folks ends up making it through the red portion of the test, collapse on the other side, and they made it. It's great.
Yeah, much to the consternation of the head of the council.
Yeah.
In the kitchen on the Cerritos, Migleemo is putting together a dish that it looks like one of those like blobfish that live like super deep in the ocean, but it's got a bunch of eyes and wedges of lemon cut up all over it and stuff.
Rarely have we ever seen a dish so alien on Star Trek.
Truly.
Like usually you get like the cornucopia of dragon fruit or whatever.
Yeah, they just like went to the Asian supermarket and got the least conventional fruit they could find.
But this looks like a fish that swims where light does not reach.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It's supposed to be a phenomenal dish, but again, the critics come in. Again, they use their little miniature beaks on it, and again, they do not care for it.
They didn't even eat the main part of it.
Yeah, it's just a garnish.
Yeah, don't eat the garnish and judge.
Yeah, sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right.
And now Migleemo's going to get punished?
Yeah.
Like, punished for serving a meal that wasn't up to par?
Yeah, he's being arrested. That's what happens in this culture.
The security guys have that power?
I don't know.
We shall banish your entire family from the great seating chart.
Oh! Captain, help me!
And Freeman's just standing for it? What the fuck?
Seems that way.
We need to score a lot of laps fast.
We're licensed businessmen.
Well, it's a new ship. But she's got the right name. She's got the right name. Now you remember that, you hear?
You want to know what Challenge 2 is back on Qo'noS, Ben?
Tell me about it.
Fight a giant targ. We got a ring and everything.
Yeah. Ring kind of like comes up out of the floor. It's another electricity thing that they're going to have to contend with. And this targ is quite a lot bigger than the one that Ma'ach was blowing it, trying to wrestle in the first scene. But his brother, that dude's an expert targ wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah. And like does that thing, like flips him on his back.
Yeah.
Ties up the legs.
This happened so fast. Like I was like writing something in my notebook and I looked up and I was like, wait, what happened? How did they get this thing tied up so quickly?
Yeah. A skilled rodeo rider will do this. It's really impressive.
Barg is pissed though. Like he wants to like add things that they have to do, like basic pet maintenance stuff, pet body care stuff.
Sure.
And they're like, no, man, fuck that. You're just being like punitive. And he's like, okay, well, you can just move on to the last thing in the trial, which is one member of your crew has to sacrifice their life. Who's it going to be, Ma?
Who is it going to be? I mean, I thought for sure the brother would get it just because of the interpersonal shit between him and Mach, but Mach volunteers.
What an interesting idea that the brother whose honor is less important to him would take a bullet for the family.
At no point was lobotomy on the table as a substitution. There are no substitutions on this menu.
Wait, that's more of a bit for the other storyline in this episode. I'm getting confused. That happens a lot since my lobotomy.
Barg is fucking psyched about this. He'd like nothing better than to see Mach die. And it's something that Mariner wants to talk him out of. And she's actually going to get that chance because Barg believes that it's just going to increase the suffering to put this off a little while and let him stew in the idea of what's to come. And once Barg fucks off, like, Mach admits that he doesn't have the heart to be a captain anymore. And it's for a really interesting reason. Like, if I gotta be a captain, I'm gonna have to serve in that guy's fleet. And that guy sucks. Even being a captain isn't worth it to me if I gotta eat that guy's shit.
Yeah. So he's basically saying, like, I'd rather die than do that. And Boimler's like, man, like, you got to do what I did, you know? Like, I went and served on a ship that wasn't a good fit for me, and I just, like, moved back to the ship that was a good fit. Like, if that guy's fleet's not the fleet, get a ship in a different fleet. You can still be a captain.
Yeah.
And Mach is like, that's just not how it works in Klingon society. And Boimler's like, oh, ho, ho, but it is, my good sir. I know more about your culture than you do. Fucking tourist.
I thought he was bending a little bit here.
How dare you? I would never tell anybody anything about their culture.
So it seems like they can go forward with this final challenge, but they do really need to choose who gets sacrificed, and Mariner has an idea. We do not get to hear this idea because we're back on the Cloacan nest world, where Migleemo is being prepped for transport to the prison on the Cerritos. Legnog and Gonald are running the show here. It's really weird how checked out Freeman is about this. It almost makes me wonder if Migleemo isn't a member of the crew, if he just like gets a comm badge as a hired contract laborer or something that's still in the sway of the folks on his homeworld. At no point does she attempt to intervene.
Or is it a Troy thing where, like, he does have a rank in Starfleet, but just isn't required to be in uniform because of his position as ship's counselor?
What we don't get is the scene with Freeman where we get to understand more how she really feels about the situation and whether she's just, like, willing to let it go because it seems too big of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, like, I got the feeling that Freeman was on like her 7th or 8th podcast record of the week and was just kind of feeling a little bit like, I don't even know where I am at this point, man. Like, if you're telling me this is what's happening, I guess this is what's happening.
Yeah. On the surface, Tendi learns that Legnog and Gonald kind of review everything badly, don't they?
And it's always the same thing. It has no flavor. This food has no flavor. And like things that are known to have tons of flavor, they're reviewing as having no flavor.
Weird. Huh.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
So back on Qo'noS, we see the big plan come to fruition. Mach has invoked the right of forced conscription, and that means Barg must now engage Mach in combat, and Mach wins. There's a great little fight scene here with a bunch of bladed weapons, and the forced conscription rule means that Barg is the one that can be chosen to be sacrificed. Like, you're being conscripted into our group, and we choose to sacrifice you.
Yeah.
Is how it goes down. And there is nothing more Star Trek than a letter of the law being thrown back into the faces of some bad people, right? Like, This is so Star Trek-y to me. It's great.
I love it. He says, like, you know, Barg, you can get out of this if you just let me have my command in whichever fleet I want. And seems like Barg is going to do the right thing, but then he fucking stabs Mach in the back like a fucking patach.
Do you think this was inspired by Aliens when Bishop gets stabbed by the tail of the Queen? Because it really does feel like we're going to be okay, we win. And then like, badoosh, like through and through.
Yeah, it's got to be an homage. Anyways, you know that Klingons can take a little stabbing. They got lots of redundancies in there. So he turns around and shuffles Barg loose this mortal coil. RSVP Barg.
Yeah. Barg was a real one.
They get Mach packed up out in the Bloodwine delivery van. We learn from Mariner, she wasn't here just doing like regular ass Starfleet shit and trying to pay him a visit. She knew he had lost his captaincy, but she needed a Klingon captain because Barg wasn't letting Starfleet do anything in the area. And there's another one of these quantum fissures around. She needed to get some scans of that shit.
Mariner basically turns to camera and goes, I'm here to continue the serialized story.
I mean, it's a really interesting hole.
Back in the shuttle with Migleemo, they've arrived on the surface and they're given their amuse-bouche, which is a thing that Cloacans give to prisoners as like kind of their last meal.
Yeah.
This is it. And Legnog and Gonald love this shit. But they shouldn't. Because it's shit from the replicator.
It's pretty good for shit.
Yeah.
Which means they have been lying about their sense of taste the whole time.
And now, the Emperor has no clothes moment happens where all of these important Cloacans are present to observe the fact that they ate shit and claimed to enjoy it. And they puff up.
I love that.
In the fear display of their people and admit that they've lost their sense of taste. This is called conversion disorder.
Ben, do you know what conversion disorder is? It makes the pressure of critiquing a thing remove your ability to do that. Do you feel like that that's familiar to you in some way?
No, I can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah. Doesn't look like anything to me.
I just like that, like the kids say, like when somebody's doing something well, they ate. They're cooking, they're leaving no crumbs.
I don't know any kids. I've never heard this. Okay.
Migleemo does that with his diagnosis, man.
Yeah. What is up with the Lower Decks creators really being into birds? Are these people with like parakeets and parrots and stuff?
If we ever get Mike McMahon back on the show, we should ask him that.
We should do that. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, so this is great. Migleemo is going to help them overcome this situation. It kind of almost implies that Migleemo is like leaving the ship because he's going to spend weeks and weeks working with them on this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that outright, so I couldn't quite tell. Anyways, back on the farm, Mariner reports that they've gotten their scans of this space hole, and they appear to be manufactured. This is not a natural phenomenon, she says. Somebody is making them.
Do you think this is Nick Locarno?
I don't know. Could it be?
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. It sets up the idea of more alternate universi encounters, which is interesting to me. I love those.
Yeah, those are great. It seems like, it's going to be a bit of a multiverse of madness by the end of this season. Mach has decided that he is going to take the humble route and become the captain of his own blood wine delivery spaceship with first officer, his brother. And that's our episode. Adam, did you like this episode of Star Trek: Lower Decks?
She'll always bring it home.
I liked it so much. And it made me think about how when we were watching mainline Star Trek, like Next Generation through DS9, through Voyager, through Enterprise, we got fewer and fewer and fewer Klingon storylines. And it felt like for a long time, that barrel of blood wine was empty. Like there were no more stories Star Trek was willing to tell.
Yeah.
It's really great how Lower Decks takes those empty barrels and finds something in there still. Like there are myriad Klingon stories to tell still, and Lower Decks continues to tell them in a really interesting way, developing brand new Klingon characters that feels miraculous to actually care about. Like, good for Mach and his brother. I love those guys.
Those guys rule.
And that Klingon lady who's crushing on him in the club, I think she's great. She's really cool.
I want to give this episode a special citation for using the phrase boob window. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily a Greatest Gen reference by the show. It's a very obvious construction.
Yeah.
But it's a thing we've been saying for a long time, and it's very nice to hear it uttered by an actual Star Trek character. Feels very validating.
Really like the episode. Really love a very special episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, Ben. How about you?
Yeah, I had to like read through Mach's Memory Alpha entry to like kind of remind myself of his storyline, and that's
not your fault. Like, it's been a year since we've had episodes of this show.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I wonder if there will be little recap thingies as these air, because we're getting them as screeners, but
that's a great call. Yeah, if we get pre-rolls on these when they actually hit the network, that makes sense.
I mean, maybe this is a criticism that everyone listening will be like, what are you talking about? But other than that, I thought it was a really fantastic episode, and this has just been such a great looking season of the show overall so far. They really seem to be pulling out all the stops in the visuals, making it super beautiful, and in the sound design. Like, the sound design is so great. Like, it feels so fully realized. Like, spaces feel echoey and full in such a cool way.
Something that's happening right now that I think will probably still be the case when this episode drops is the Animation Guild is negotiating a new contract right now.
Wow.
And they deserve great benefits and a great wage because the work they do is excellent and they work very hard in order to make it. So I just wanted to express our solidarity with those folks who make the show what it is. So much of what it is, anyway.
Right on. Yeah, thanks to everyone that worked on this. We've been fortunate to get to exchange emails with a few of them, and they're all delightful people, and I hope they get paid the way they deserve to be paid.
Absolutely.
Well, let's see if we get any of the priority ones we deserve to get, Adam, by heading over to the priority one inbox.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
And we've got a commercial priority one message here. It goes like this: Empowering Children Bay Area is a nonprofit service that pairs older adult volunteers with elementary school children in the San Francisco Bay Area, home of Starfleet, for literacy tutoring during the school day. This incredible program helps boost children's literacy, combats the senior loneliness epidemic, and inspires future Starfleet cadets. Since dolphin polish isn't cheap, please support this program with a monthly donation or whatever you can give at sequoialiving.org/kids. Kapla!
Hey, that sounds great. I love a promo with a cause like this.
Yeah, we'll definitely put this URL in the show notes for today.
Yeah. You got some extra dolphin polish over there, Ben?
Actually used mine up. But just as a child of the Bay Area, this warms my heart, and I hope folks will give generously to this. What a worthy cause.
Absolutely. Ben, we got a priority one message here from Rustin Kazire, friend of the pod, someone that we've enjoyed hanging out with a bunch of times doing our live show.
Yeah.
Someone who popped up at the Madison show, surprisingly, in just a delightful way.
We bumped into him walking around Madison the night before the show. What a fun surprise.
Yeah. This message is to Captain Lizoto, Chris Shimoda, Defested, Dr. Sam, David Ellis, The Dith, and all the others I'm forgetting. Here's that message. I want to sincerely apologize for my shameful behavior at STLV 2024. I will never, ever again double book and have to leave early ever again. I will defiantly get blackout drunk on Rope Masters, though. I remember that night.
Wow.
It was so great seeing old friends and meeting new ones. I'll be there next year, through Monday this time. Public service announcement. That is when the Prana Cabana takes place. The Monday after STLV. Rustin gets it.
Hell yeah.
Rustin's going to be there next year.
If you want to meet Rustin and Adam and me, come to STLV. We're gonna try and do a little bit more stuff on stage at the next one, if they'll let us.
Yeah, we'll find a way.
Yeah. We'll either sneak on or convince them to let us go on, honestly. One of the two.
Hey, thanks for finding a way to support the show. Priority One messages are a great way to do that. You can write yours for us to say at MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron, and they go a long way in supporting the production of our shows.
Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin? Edward Larkin!
Yee! That sound that Boimler makes when he jumps onto the targ. Yee! That means something. Like that sound, that character, that moment, like there's a story there that the writer had. I want to know all about it. Like those little joyful noises that a person makes that are unique to them.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that specificity. I mean, specificity is a main ingredient to really good comedy.
Totally.
And that is an example of it in my mind. So I'm going to say Boimler, but for that moment specifically. How about you?
I'm giving it to Migleemo. I thought Paul F. Tompkins' performance in the role this episode was really, really funny. Like, I was getting the bends going from the A story to the B story, but I feel like there are a couple of line deliveries, especially the stuff about, like, being a chef of the mind.
Yeah.
That really fucking killed me.
Yeah.
So Migleemo's going to be mine.
Those are just underhand throws to PFT. Like, he totally hit that.
Yeah. Ruled.
A close second to me were the two motorcycle dudes who throw experience bish at each other after almost getting into an accident. That was a close one for me. That was a fun moment.
I think the second guy was really what really got me, because I was like, okay, like I get the reference, but his like kind of half like, what? Hey, man.
Yeah.
Experience beige! You experience beige!
That was kind of a double dumbass moment on Qo'noS.
Yeah, good stuff.
Let's see what sort of cultural slurs and profanity are waiting for us in the Warning Bois, Ben. Warning Bois, of course, the hit segment of Greatest Trek where we share the nice things that FODs have shared about our show in an effort to grow our audience while at the same time keeping out those who just aren't on our level.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy. A warning buoy.
Today's Warning Bois is a Blue Sky post. This is a person goes by JCJ823 on Blue Sky. I posted that giant freaking robot article that was written about Greatest Gen, and Jeff replied while sending listeners or viewers into spasms of uncontrollable laughter as a quote from the article, and then tagged that with Warning Bois. Don't listen to this podcast in bed with a partner who's trying to sleep. Even if you can manage to laugh silently, you will shake the bed. Spouse, you're listening to that podcast, aren't you?
That's really fun.
Yeah. What a compliment. Thank you, Jeff, for the kind words. And thanks to everyone who leaves a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or whatever podcast app you use. Really helps get the word out about our show.
Great one, Ben. Great week spent with you recording about 1,000 podcast episodes. I hope none of this sounded like complaining, because this is the best job that I've ever had. And really fortunate to be doing it with you and our great producer, Wynde, with whom we will throw the keys to the show to from here, right?
Yeah, take it away, Wynde.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wendy Priddy. The guys will be back next week with a very special guest, and they'll be covering Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 5. It's called Starbase 80? Thank you to the Max Fun members who support this show financially. You can set up a membership in just a few minutes at MaximumFun.org/join. Members get instant access to a ton of great bonus content, and we really appreciate and rely on your support. Thank you to Nick Dittmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusia, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for their work on the @GreatestTrek social media pages. Follow those accounts and use the hashtag GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. We're also on YouTube, and you can find a ton of great video content already available on that channel. Make sure you're subscribed over there so you see future videos as they're released. You can also subscribe to the Greatest newsletter at podshop.biz. That's where all the great merch is too. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
God damn it. What the fuck keeps happening here?
I don't know. You've gotten all blurry. You've blurred yourself.
You're blurred.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
directly
by you.